Hi guys, this is a little bit of a story time video. I just put another thing on, sorry, excuse the tea. Today's video is a real life story about my parents. My parents have had their own shop for the last 35 years. We lived in a place called Hungerford and we owned a shop. And then we moved to where we are now, and then they bought another shop. So they've had the shop that we had about 17 years, and so they've been their own bosses for like over 35 years. And it must be really strange from 35 years of having your own business to then losing your business. So what happened was the landlord decided that he wanted to knock down the building and convert it into loads of apartments. And my parents have like a paper shop, or had like a paper shop. So they owned obviously the bottom half of the shop, and the landlord was like, look, you've got 6 months to get out. I am using my get out clause and I am going to convert it into flats. So you lose the money that you paid for the business and you need to be kicked out in 6 months time. And bearing in mind, my parents are like, my mum's 60 and my dad's 65. So they've still got a few years of working life in them. But little did they ever think that they would have to actually go out into the real world and look for jobs, because the amount of people that are unemployed out there is ridiculous. So my mum and dad for 6 months just like panicked and they got stressed. And every day my dad comes home and he's like, who's gonna hire me? Nobody's gonna hire me. I'm never gonna get a job. I'm just gonna have to sit at home. Mum's gonna have to earn money. My mum was always quite confident. She was like, well, I'm just gonna go out and get a job. Like, somebody will hire me. I'm enthusiastic. I learn quickly. Like, I'll be fine. So my mum was really confident about the whole thing. Dad, not so confident. Just literally every day, who the hell is gonna hire me? For 6 months went by really quickly. And about 4 or 5, maybe 4 months ago, we decided to apply for a job for my dad in Barclays. So bearing in mind, this man has not been employed by anyone for 35 years. So we had to do a CV for dad. We had to do lots of online applications. He was thinking about applying at a supermarket. And then he was thinking about applying for a bank, and then he was thinking about applying for WH Smith as a supervisor position came up, but we just really didn't know. But they weren't at an age where they can retire, because we've still got money to pay on the house. So they couldn't afford just to not work anymore. So yeah, like 3-4 months ago, we applied for a job at Barclays for my dad. It was the first job that he'd applied for. He needed me to help him with his online application, but it was more the technology side of it, and how do I upload my CV and how do I do this. So I sat with my dad and we basically came up with a CV for him. I showed him my CV and then he used that as a template to do his own CV. He was really worried about not having anything to write on his CV, because he'd had his own business for so long, and he was like, what am I supposed to write? I sell sweets. And I was like, Dad, you do lots of things. You do money handling, you do cash and carry, you do negotiating with reps, you do stock filling, you do transferring money to Western Union, you work for the National Lottery, you do loads of stuff. So we made his CV look, I guess, presentable, and he went for a telephone interview at Barclays. So he had this telephone interview and he said it was okay, and then they offered him a face-to-face interview. So bearing in mind, at this time he's still running his shop and crapping himself, because he's thinking, the shop's going in 3 months, I've got nowhere to go, like what am I going to do for work, I've got no income, blah blah, and he's getting really stressed. And I can't help, because I've just bought a business and I'm trying to pay it off, so I've got no extra money whatsoever. And so meanwhile, mum's like completely chilling and completely not worried about not having work. So we then decided to get him prepared for this Barclays interview. So what we did was got him a new suit, polished his shoes, went on the Barclays website, literally learned everything we could about Barclays in the space of a few hours, learned all their visions and values, like really prepared themselves for all the up-to-date stuff that Barclays do, their Barclays app, what it does, and like really went in there and prepared himself. And he went to Barclays and he basically got the job on the spot. And he came out of there and he never texted me. I was at home that day. He never texted me to say I got the job. He came home, looked really depressed, did a whole load of drama, and then went, guess what, they offered me the job. He is 65 years old and he is now employed by Barclays Bank. He is amazing. He has done so well. He's been working there for like 2 months now. He's enjoying it. He's a little bit worried about the computers and stuff at work, because he's not picking stuff up as quickly as he wanted to. But he's really enjoying being on the counter. He's really enjoying the job. and he can't believe that he actually got a job. He still comes home every day and says, I can't believe Barclays gave me a job. He's got a uniform, he goes to work, he is just amazing. On the other hand, now my mum, I'm basically looking, I'm always looking for people to work for me. So my mum one day just came home and said, why don't I just work for you? And I was like, do you know what, that is an amazing idea. Like, that is an incredible idea. Having your mum work in your business is just as good as having another person in management on the shop floor that cares about the business as much as I do. So basically we hired mum, and she had an interview with the store managers. They loved her, they hired her, she's got a uniform, she's been working for us like 2 months now as well. She's learning loads every day, she's just really enjoying the job, and she is having the best time of her life. So it's just amazing. So the moral of this story is you can do anything you want to do at whatever age. You just need to be determined, and you just need to take whatever resources you can do to get yourself there. My dad never ever thought in a million years he'd be working for Barclays Bank. He thought people would just look at his age and not bother interviewing him. I think people with more experience with the public are generally better employees because they're more reliable, they've got mortgages to pay, they're going to turn up to work, they don't mess you around, they understand the responsibility, and they're a bit more flexible. So I just feel like the moral of the story is, like, you just need to work for whatever the hell you want to do. You just need to put like 100% into anything you want to do, and you need to be really positive about stuff, because my mum and dad never thought in their 60s they would be working. It is amazing having my mum work for me. To be totally honest, I barely see her during the day because I am so busy testing, and she is on the shop floor. We have 2 floors in my store, so I'm normally upstairs testing eyes and she's downstairs selling the glasses, and she knows literally every other customer that walks into my store. So it's amazing. She's bringing loads of customers in for me, she's getting to know them, they banter with her, she's learning at the same time, and I'm paying her a salary, which is just amazing to think that I can give something back to my mum and dad. My dad's really like eternally grateful for me, because he always says, if it wasn't for you, they wouldn't have given me an interview because you did my CV. I was like, no, I just typed your CV, you basically told me what to write. So if you sit and break it down and you really want something, you basically just have to go for it. There's no quibbling, there's no doubts. You've just, if you need to do something. So it's like kind of shocking now to think about the amount of people out there in the world that don't have jobs and think they can't get jobs. But then I look at some of the application forms that we get sometimes, and I think, well, if you don't spell stuff properly and it looks like you wrote it on the bus to work and the handwriting's everywhere and it's illegible and it's full of mistakes, it's really bad English, and is it going to be something that people will be impressed with? Probably not if you can't spell. So I think it's really important to take pride in what you do. It's really important. Like, you know, when I sent my dad for his interview at Barclays, he was literally polishing his shoes the day before, and I was just so proud of him because I just thought, you know what, like, he really wants this. He really, really wants this. And it was the first job that he'd applied for, and he got it. And I just think to all these people out there that are struggling to get work, like, you really just have to put that extra effort in. You have to make yourself look extra good, you have to be there extra early, you have to do all these little things to impress them along the way, because that is what potentially will impress an employer. So that is my story time. For my parents are just amazing, and they've both got jobs in their 60s for the first time in over half of their life, and I'm just so proud of them. If you have any stories like this, words of encouragement for anything that people are going through in life, like, nothing's impossible. You just have to really want it, and you just have to really work for it. So thank you very much if you stayed until the end of this video, and I will see you guys very soon.